What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and we are going to be looking at the entire squad, including all the players out on loan. And we're going to be doing a keep, loan or sell today. I think it's 37 players that we need to get through today. And we're going to start off with Will Lancashire. It's an interesting one. He's gone to West Brom on loan. Hasn't really done much, to be fair. Struggling for minutes. When he was here, I felt like in the minutes that he did have, he looked pretty good. So I probably a loan, right?
I think he needs another loan. Clearly, I don't think he's ready for consistent Premier League minutes. I think, unfortunately, he started off in his first game at West Brom quite well and then hasn't really got into the team. So I think, needs another loan.
All right, Will Lancashire, loan. Next up, we are going to look at Ben Davies. This is a very interesting one. 1 year left in his contract, seeing as I think we have triggered the extension. What's your thinking towards Ben?
I mean, if it was up to me, he's been a great servant to the club, but I would look to sell him. I do kind of feel like a good squad or a successful team does need players like Ben Davies, players who are willing to do a job for the team, looking to do a job for the squad. But definitely in recent weeks, and also I just feel like it is time to move on from him. I think he's been here for a long time, and I think definitely, well, in the last game anyway, maybe my judgment's a bit clouded. In the last game, he didn't do too well, but I feel like in the Premier League as a centre-back, I think he's fine, and I wouldn't be mad if he's stayed another year. But if it was up to me, I would look to try and upgrade him, and I do think we do need a bit more quality coming in so there's not such a big gap when we get injuries. But I do think we will let him probably see out his last year of his deal.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you to a certain extent, but why I would say keep is because there are so many more pressing issues in the squad when you're looking at the attack, striker, winger, midfielder, left back. I say just let Ben Davies see out the remainder of his contract, 1 year left, and then look to upgrade in the summer, for the following summer.
As I say, if we get a good offer, I would sell him.
Yeah. So what are we doing? Keep?
I mean, I would sell him. But I'm happy for him to stay as well if we don't get any offers.
All right, we'll say keep because we're probably not going to get any offers, are we, this summer with 1 year left in his deal. So, Ben. I mean, Sim says sell. I say keep. You make up your own minds in the comment section below. Next up is Radu Dragusin. Another interesting one. Not someone that fits the system at all, in my opinion.
His agent has been yapping again.
His agent has been yapping again. He's got an injury that's going to keep him out for a lot of next season, probably not till December. So it's going to make it very hard for us to sell. But if it was up to me, I probably would sell.
Yeah, I think the reality right now with Dragusin is he's not going to be going anywhere, at least till January. I think obviously January, hopefully he'll be fit by then. At that point, maybe a loan deal in Italy for 6 months, because I'm thinking we're going to have, Danso's here now. You've got Romero, Van de Ven. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what's to do with their future. But when it comes to Dragusin, I think he's definitely flattered to deceive when he has played in the Premier League. We're not quite sure if he fits how we want to play. Obviously, we don't know who the manager's going to be next season. But I wouldn't be surprised in January, maybe if we look to loan him back to Italy for 6 months and let him rebuild his confidence again.
Yeah, you reckon a loan for Dragusin? I'm not so
because I don't know how much he's going to play if he comes back. You know what I mean? I think maybe a loan deal for 6 months and then make a decision in the summer. I don't think he'll get a loan deal in the summer, this summer. But maybe in January he comes back fit and maybe we send him out on loan for 6 months to let him play.
If he didn't have the injury, what would your mind be on?
Probably sell.
So why not sell then?
Because we're not going to wait because he's got an ACL.
Yeah, so you can't loan him with an ACL either.
In January you can.
In January you can sell him as well.
I don't think people are going to buy him permanently. I think they would only take him on loan. Cause why would you spend big money when he's had a serious injury?
Yeah,
but a loan deal is
different.
Not
from the opposition's team perspective. This is from our perspective.
I would sell him. Yeah, I would sell him if we can.
So is it sell then?
Yeah, we're just not going to be able to.
Next up is Pape Mathis Tel. It's got to be keep, right?
Yeah, I'd keep him. I still think he's got levels to go up. Hasn't been great in recent weeks. I still think
he's been getting a little bit better.
Yeah, I still think he's had spells this season where he's been really good, and I think he's got so much potential. So yeah, definitely keep.
Next up is Jed Spence. He's an obvious keep. He's been brilliant for us in recent months. He's got our player ratings, player of the month a few times already this season, so he's got to be a keep.
Yeah, he's really proved a lot of people wrong, and I think he's been one of the best fullbacks in the league over the last couple of months, especially under the circumstances. So, definite keep.
Mickey van der Ven, you know what is already with Mickey van der Ven. He's obviously a keep. Our best defender. The best suit to the system from that we got at left centre back by far. And he just changes the dynamic of the team every time he's in it.
Yeah, he's just got to get over those injury problems. And maybe he's been equipped with a new running style. Maybe we get to see Mickey 2.0 from now to the end of the season. But definite keep. Obviously, we want him yet.
Destiny Udogie up next. I mean, he has flattered to deceive a little bit this season when he has been on the pitch, in my opinion. But I believe in his abilities. I believe in his qualities. So I'm saying keep.
Yeah, I think he's a keep. I think he's shown that he can be a top fullback, in my opinion. He's still very young, still very young, still got so much to learn and grow. So I'm definitely keeping him.
Pedro Porro. I think it's an obvious keep, to be honest. He offers
some might disagree.
I think people would still keep him. Maybe you want to sign another. Yeah, I guess. I don't think anyone would actually sell him, though.
You haven't been on social media, I guess.
Yeah, maybe
there's a lot of people who would sell him, but I agree with you. I think he's one of the top creative right backs in the league on his day. I think he has been suspect defensively for sure. I think a lot of it was during that period where he was a bit overplayed and maybe tiring a bit.
Is that him or is it the system? I believe it's more the system than him.
I think a lot of it is the system. I think he has improved defensively overall since in the last couple of years from the player that first came here. That player that played under Conte and he was just getting exposed a lot more than he is now. I think he's a lot more. I think he's a lot better in one-on-one situations than he was. He's still not the most amazing defensive right back. I think it's fair to say. I think he's still got. I think there's better defensive right backs, but there's very few right backs better in the final third than him. And I think that's not something I want to give up. So I think I'd keep him.
Next up is James Maddison. I'm going to say keep, but I think he needs to consistently improve.
I think his numbers have been good this year. Mm-hmm. I think, obviously, he had that little period where he was injured, but other than that, he's actually stayed pretty injury-free this season. I think when he's been on the pitch, he has had games where he's gone missing, but he's contributed a lot this season. And I think there have been some games as well where he hasn't scored or assisted, and he's played very well. So I still think he's a top-class player, but there is definitely something that's keeping him from being in that elite category for sure. He's a very good player, but whether he's ever going to reach that elite level, I think definitely the jury's out on that.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about big games and big moments when you need your big players to stand up. I want to see him kind of thrive in those moments, and it's kind of rare this season that he has done.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Next up is Archie Gray. I think it's an obvious keep for Archie. I think he's been very good when he's stood in this season at centre back. I just want to see him maybe not pick a position, but flourish in a position where it's not at centre back. We need to see him in midfield more consistently, and I want to see him flourish in that position.
I do agree, but I do kind of like the fact he's a utility man as well, because those players are very important. Like, I just remember, cast my mind back to, I know it's different kind of scenario, but look, you think about the great Man United teams. They had someone like John O'Shea who could just fill in midfield. He filled in a fullback, filled in a centre back, and those players can be very important, especially when you've got injuries and things like that. And I think Archie Gray will only have learned from this season, and I think his versatility is going to be a benefit to him and the squad. So I agree. I want to see him kind of nail down that midfield position as well, because that's his best position. But I think his versatility is really handy. So for sure, it's a keep.
Yeah. Sergio Reguilon, his contract is up at the end of the season, so it's an obvious sell.
Yeah, I think we've seen the last of him, I think.
Next up is Ajayi. Obviously, he came in he came in at Elfsborg game and just surprised everyone, didn't he? Haven't seen him since. So maybe a loan move is in the offing for Ajayi.
Obviously we saw where he scored against Elfsborg. He's got potential. So I would like to see what he can do maybe when he's out on loan in kind of men's football on a more regular basis. So yeah, I don't think he's getting a look in our first team squad next season. So I think a loan, yeah.
Vicario, Tottenham's number one. No way is he going. I think the fan base have really started to appreciate Vicario even more since he's come back now.
I agree. I would keep him. I think fantastic keeper. We were saying last season he's one of the best in the league. I still kind of think he's underrated. I think people still like kind of brandish him with the brush of like he's bad at like set pieces and things like that. Where I think he has really improved in those aspects. Still has to like he's not kind of on the elite level on the ball, but I think in terms of shot stopping and goalkeeping, I can't think of too many keepers right now in the league who are better than him on those facets. So for sure, it's a keep.
Brennan Johnson up next. This is going to be an interesting one because not really the flavour of the month at the moment, Brennan Johnson, in awful form. However, I do think with the number of goal contributions that he gets, I think it's a very valuable skill set to have in the squad. So I believe that we need to sign better, but I would like to keep him to be part of the squad.
Yeah, I think the guy gets goal contributions. The funny thing is, I think maybe if Ange is not our manager next season, there is more of a case to maybe sell him because I think he's more kind of he's better suited to kind of how Ange likes to play his wingers than maybe other managers potentially. But I think if I'm going to assume Ange is going to be our manager next season, I would keep him. And I think if the guy gets goals, he's our top goal scorer of the season in all competitions. That can't be sniffed at. However people want to slice it, that is the barefaced fact of the matter. So if he's getting those goals consistently, then he's worth having around.
Yeah. Big Dom Solanke up next. I think it's another keep, signed him for 65 million in the summer. He's had, a fairly good season. I think he's very important to the way we play, but we do need more goals from him.
Definitely. And I definitely would get, obviously we're going to get into Richarlison later, but I definitely would get a striker to compete with him because definitely needs to up his goal scoring. I know he's got a fair amount of goals. I know he provides so much to the team, but definitely keep him. Definitely added a new element to our attack and I've been really happy with him, but I want to see a few more goals from him. But he's capable of it.
Yeah, Rodrigo Bentancur up next. For me, I think I'd prefer to sell him, to be honest.
I think on current form, what I'm seeing at the moment, I might sell because he's just too inconsistent. But I do think I feel bad for him because he's had such a rough ride for the last few years, and it'll be hard for any player to go through what he's been through in a lot of the facets. The ACL and the bands and the concussions and all these different things. Hasn't been able to get any sort of consistent game time. He's starting to get it now, and unfortunately he's been a bit inconsistent. When he's been good, he's been pretty impressive, but when he's been bad, he's been awful, and he's got to cut those performances out of his game. I do want to keep him around. I do think he's good enough to be here, but unfortunately, since he's come back from injury last season, he just hasn't been consistent. That's the barefaced truth. I think there's a good case to sell him, but I also think I know how good he can be, but it's whether he can ever reach those levels consistently again. I think that, we just don't know that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his performance since he's been back playing consistently, and I think we're all clinging on to a dream that before he got that ACL injury, he was performing at a really high level, and I don't think we've ever seen him get back to probably anywhere near those levels, to be honest. And when he is bad, he's a passenger in the team, and the team's pretty much carrying him, and he becomes a detriment to the team, in my opinion. So I think...
But we've seen glimpses.
Yeah, but still nowhere near to those levels that we saw before that injury.
When he's been good, I think he's been pretty good. When he's
you can say he's been pretty good, but it's still nowhere near those levels.
Yeah, but I just think all the circumstances surrounding him and the context of how he's come into this situation, I just feel like we could be regretting selling him.
Nah, I don't think we'll regret selling him, and I just feel like maybe the injuries have just hampered his career, really. I don't know if we're ever going to see him back to his best.
I think there's a chance we will. I think he's been improving, to be honest. I think he's better than he was last season, to be honest. So I think his season's been completely derailed by a lot of different things, and I think we could see the best of him.
I disagree. I think you're seeing some of the performances. How can you say he's improving with, very rare performances are pretty good from him and at a top level. But the majority of what we're seeing is really poor.
It's not. I don't think it's majority. I think recently it has. I think so. Maybe it's a bit of recency bias. But I think over the season when he's played, I wouldn't say it's been more bad than good. I disagree. But also, it's been a difficult situation with the team, not just him, but him especially. He's had so many circumstances to deal with. I think he just needs a really consistent run, and maybe we'll start to see it.
Consistent run.
At the moment, yeah, but give him a bit more time. Give him a bit more time.
With the consistent run, like how much more time can we give him, and how much more time can we carry a player for? And that's what we're doing.
I don't know if we're carrying him. I don't know about that. I think he's a good player, and I think he can get back to his best. I believe in Rodrigo.
I feel like he needs to go to like maybe a bit of a slower league.
Maybe.
And where is his best position in this team?
That's also a good question. At the moment, it looks like we're trying to play him in the 6.
Yeah, and is it suited to him? Is he suited to be like a lone 6? And when he's in a double pivot, he's okay. But when he's the lone 6, he gets overrun way too often. Yeah,
maybe some truth to that. I think it depends on the team dynamics a lot. I think when the team's function, he looks all right, but when it's not, he struggles. And I think a lot of it's to do with that. But look, I think right now in current form, you would sell him.
All right, so that's what it is. Next up is Kinski. I think obviously he's going to be our backup keeper for next season. Probably take the cup games if we're in Europe, which is very unlikely at this stage. But probably take the European games as well. But yeah, I think he's an obvious keep.
Yeah, he's our backup keeper. I think impressed at times. Still got clearly a lot of improving to do in certain aspects, but I'll keep him.
Next up is Son Heung-min. It's a big fat keep from me. I think I hate all the kind of negative attitude towards Son all season. He's still a quality player. Most goal contributions in the squad this year, and if you manage his minutes, you're going to reap the benefits. So he's a big fat keep.
Yeah, for sure. I still think he's our best attacker. I still think he's got so much to give, in my opinion. And yes, he's not the player he was 5-10 years ago. He's a different player, but he's still extremely effective, and he's still so good in certain situations. So I'll definitely keep him.
Brandon Austin up next. I'm going to say keep for Brandon. Third choice keeper. Happy to be third choice keeper, and he's fairly good.
I agree. I think impressed when he's played this season in some Europa League games and a Premier League game against Newcastle. Hasn't really done much wrong, so can't really complain. Homegrown as well, so especially if we're in Europe, we're going to need him. So yeah, keep.
Dane Scarlett. What are we going to do with Dane?
Dane.
Yeah, loan spells haven't really worked out. He's come back. He's looked actually decent when he's got on the pitch for Spurs, to be fair. Had a really good game against Elfsborg, goal and assist. He's got a Premier League assist to his name as well. I like what I see from him, but is it going to hamper his development being here as a backup pretty much? Like, are we ever going to see the best of Dane just being in a backup? Is he going to be able to fight with Dom Solanke for that number 9 slot? I have my doubts. I'm not sure what to do with Dane.
I don't think keeping him, I don't think we're going to is the best option. I still don't know if he's ready, but then again, he's now 21? And as you said, the loan deals just haven't worked out. So is another loan deal the option? That's also a big question mark. So are we leaning towards selling him? Is it a Troy Parris situation where he's good, but he's just not quite there to be a first-team player for Tottenham? So is it a sell? I kind of, if it was up to me, I would just give it one more loan and see what we can do with it. But because I think there is potential there, but the loans just haven't worked, and finding the loan is clearly very, very difficult, and he just hasn't developed. He has stagnated a bit, albeit I think physically you can see he's growing, and he's a lot more physical than he was, but we just haven't been able to find the right loan from him. So I don't know. That's difficult, and I would probably just give it one more loan.
Yeah, one more loan. I'd agree with that. One more loan for Dane. Up next is Decky. We all know what we're going to do with Decky. The back end of last season, I said sell him because we were kind of shifting him over to the right wing. Wasn't working. Wasn't a right winger in this system. Now we've moved him into middle. He's been, for the most part, head and shoulders our best player until we started. He started getting fatigued in the season, and he ultimately got injured. But unbelievable player, and definitely keep.
Yeah, for sure. Especially now he's a midfielder. I think he offers so much. His versatility is also very valuable. So great player. Definitely keep.
Fraser Forster. I think it's time to say bye-bye to Big Fraser. And what more can we say? We've got 3 good keepers here. So Fraser Forster is like 4th in the pecking order now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a championship team picks him up, or maybe even a lower Premier League team as a backup keeper, because I still think you've seen this season when he's played for us, like, he's not been awful. Some games he was even keeping us in it at times. But unfortunately, when it comes to like the very top level where we want to fight for, he's just not it anymore. So yeah, I would sell him. He is a good influence around the dressing room. That's not invaluable, but it's not enough.
Timo Werner. and I think it's time to say bye-bye to Timo as well. We do have that option that we can, get him at the end of his loan spell, but there's rumours that he's going to the MLS with Red Bull, New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, which is sad to see because he's still quite young, and it's sad that his career has gone downhill like it has. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where it just doesn't look like his confidence is ever coming back, and it just doesn't look like we're ever going to see the player that lit up Europe all those years ago in Europe, in the Bundesliga. That made him one of the most feared forwards in European football at the time, when Chelsea were convinced to spend 50+ million for him at the time. That player's just so far away now, and even though he's not even 30, it seems as though he's just done at this level at this point.
Yeah, it's sad to see. Next up, Cuti Romero. I'd love to say keep, but he does have that contract situation looming over him, and if he doesn't sign that contract, we're going to have to look to sell him. But obviously, I want to keep him because he's a top quality player. Yeah,
I think obviously it's going to be very difficult to sign a better centre back than him, quality wise. Albeit, it's true that for large parts of this season he hasn't been good and he's made mistakes, and it's cost us points, especially near the beginning of the season. So I understand a lot of people frustrated with him, a lot of people thinking he's got one eye on a move and all that kind of stuff, and maybe that's true. It's hard to know, but I still think there's a top quality defender in there, and in the right kind of, when the team's settled and in the right kind of environment, I think he can be a top defender for us. Unfortunately, it's true, we probably haven't seen it anywhere near enough for the kind of quality he is on a consistent enough basis. So I think if we do get a big offer in the summer, I think we probably do have to consider it, especially if he's not going to sign a contract. But if those offers aren't really there, and if there's not the interest that he wants, I'm happy to keep him. And I think I think we'll be better off for keeping him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I mean, if it was up to us and we can convince him to sign that contract, it's an obvious keep. But if he's not willing to sign that contract, it's a sell.
Yeah.
But we'll say keep just for argument's sake. Next up is Wilson Odebear. I think look, he's only been here one season, injury ravaged season, haven't seen him anywhere near enough. When we have seen him, it's been fairly exciting, so it's got to be a keep.
Yeah, unfortunately, his first season, like so many players this season, have been derailed by injury. That hamstring injury happened twice earlier in the season. But since he's come back, had a brilliant performance against RZ. Still clearly, a young winger who's still learning his trade. So I don't even think next season he's going to be kind of a world beater, but there's so much potential there, so definitely keep.
Next up is Yves Bissouma, and I think you already know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think it's a sell. I think at this point, it's come to the end of the road for him, unfortunately. I think there is a good player in there, but for one reason or another, he just can't do it consistently enough. And at the moment, it seems as though he knows it's the end of the road at Spurs. Sometimes you just get that feeling with a player's performance, how they're acting on the pitch. And we've seen it with a few players when they know they're on their way out, they kind of don't kind of put their all in. I think we're kind of seeing that at the moment with Yves. So I think he'll probably get a decent move, but I think it's time for Spurs to part ways.
Yeah, 100% sell for me. I mean, I said sell last summer, and now it's even more of a sell, to be honest. So next up is Kevin Danso. Really liked what I've seen from him so far. I don't think he's on the level of like a Van der Ven or Romero, but in terms of a squad player centre-back, I think he's been brilliant.
Yeah, I really like him. I think very aggressive, and I think really fits how we want to play. So obviously he's only been here 6 months, so definite keep. But it'll be interesting to see how we feel about him in 18 months' time, because we could feel differently. But I think for now, for sure, he's a keep.
Lucas Bergvall, I think he's a keep 10 times over. Yeah. He's been brilliant for us, growing in stature in the squad week by week. Looks like he's our go-to guy when we want to change a game. He's bringing so much to this football club, so much to the team that others are not bringing. I love him. Definite keep.
Definitely, he's our best midfielder at the moment, so you can't even think about anything else but keeping. He's probably going to be in our starting 11 next season as well. Phenomenal talent. He's going from strength to strength, so definite keep.
All right, this one's going to be a very difficult one. Mathis Tel. What do we do with Mathis Tel? Because there's not that much to go on in a positive manner from him. Obviously, it was a bit of a better performance against Fulham. 60 million is the buy option at the end of this loan spell. I kind of don't really want to make my decision on Tel just yet, because I think it's still a bit early and there's still a lot of game time that he's going to get. I think we need to keep persisting with him in the league, because I do think he's a player that has bundles of talent, and he could have potentially a very, very big future and could be a very big player for whoever picks him up, in the future. But we need to make a decision at the end of this season whether we want to keep him for 60 million or let him go back to Bayern Munich. From what I've seen so far...
Or if he wants to stay as well,
Yeah. And from what I've seen of him so far, it is sending him back to Bayern. But I do very much believe in his ability. And I just don't think the sample size of what we've seen is enough to go on.
Yeah, especially that we've only seen, half of football on the wing against Villa before we moved up front. And then 70 minutes on the wing against Fulham. Then the other games have been up front, and not only just been up front, but in a team that's been decimated with injuries and been struggling within itself to kind of get the ball at the pitch and functioning. So I think it's harsh to judge him on what we've seen, but at the end of the day, it's all we can judge him on because he hasn't really played even that much for Bayern this season. So I think I would keep him just because I think there's a talent there, and even if it doesn't work out, you could still probably get a decent fee for him in the future because he's still so young. So I think with the potential there,
could though, because it hasn't really gone well for him. I mean, Bayern have been looking to get rid of him, right? And if he leaves Bayern, where everyone thought there was a big future there, and he comes to Spurs and he doesn't do it at Spurs. Who's going to spend a decent bit of money on him? I'm
not talking about getting our money back, but you can still get 20 to 30 million, I think, because he's so young and he's for an exciting forward. People will pay kind of those premiums for the potential. So, or even if it's like a loan with an option, you know what I mean, and the option's quite big, you can still do that. So I think the upside of keeping him is greater than the potential of what you could lose if you don't take up the option and all of a sudden he smashes it. Then you'll be sitting there thinking, why the hell didn't we just do it? So I think it's probably more worth keeping him than not. Maybe even consider, if Bayern are open to it, another loan deal next season, like Werner. Maybe extend the loan if we can.
Another 10 million loan.
Maybe that would be worth it. But it's hard for me to say I've seen enough from what we've seen to spend 60 million, because I don't think we have. But I still believe in his talent. I still think we've seen enough in his career to suggest there's a real promising talent. And I also don't think, when I look at him and what things are said about him, I don't think there's any attitude problems or anything like that. He seems like a really hard worker. He seems like a really ambitious guy. So I think...
Has there been any murmurings of attitude problems?
As I'm saying, there's not. So I think that's why I'd keep him.
Yeah. I'm still so undecided. I don't really know. I mean, just for argument's sake, we can say keep, but our opinions might be different in a couple of months' time. Mikey Moore up next. He just hasn't been able to get the game time this season. He's back with the under-21s now.
I think he's 17. He's had a lot of game time for a 17-year-old.
It's true, but when you're looking at him, I feel like this year he's done well when he's been on the pitch in the Europa League. And as a 17-year-old, yes, he's got a fair amount of game time. You look at Ethan Nwaneri, who's also a 17-year-old, and he's been absolutely smashing it when he's been in the first team, and he's got, I think, quite a bit more game time than Mikey Moore. And now he's in the under-21 squad for England when Mikey's still in the under-19s. I don't think it's gone as well for Mikey this year as maybe some people have expected, and now he's back at the under-21s.
I think if you're expecting more than what he's shown, I think you're asking for way too much. The guy's 17. He's just breaking to the first team. The fact he's even getting minutes is phenomenal, in my opinion. So the fact that he's actually played well...
in how regard you value him, because I value him in an unbelievable regard. I think he could be a world star, not a world star for us, but I think he can be like an unbelievable player for us. And I'm just trying to compare him to Ethan Nwaneri, right? And when I looked at the under-19s when Mikey Moore played alongside Ethan, I always thought Mikey looked the better player.
It's different level. Arsenal's a different case. They're a more settled team. It's easier to come into a more settled team than Mikey has a lot of the time this season. It's just a different kettle of fish. I think it's hard to compare the two. But look, I'm not taking anything away from Nwaneri. He's done brilliant. He's smashing it out. But for a 17-year-old, I think Mikey's doing just fine. He's getting great minutes. Anyway, I'd keep him around. I'd kind of try and do what City did with Foden, just slowly bleed him into the team until he's fully ready, and then release the shackles off him, and he can fly. And I think to get the amount of minutes he's getting at 17, I think is fantastic. The fact that he's shown something as well when he's played, even in Premier League games occasionally, he's popped up with assists and stuff like that. And the fact that he's already scored in the Europa League, got man of the match against RZ, those kind of things, that shows for me a real promising talent and a potential star. But no need to kind of rush anything at the moment. I think he's 17. I think he's absolutely fine. I think he's probably, for me, at 17, probably got more minutes than he could have imagined in my probably this season, I would say.
Do you not think that he could do with maybe more consistent minutes on a loan, maybe, or because he's not played for the under-21s or under-18s at all this season. So I mean, he's not.
He's also training with the first team, though.
Yeah, that's true. But he
So
was training a bit with the first team last year as well. But he was also playing consistent football with the under-18s.
That'll help his development, the fact he's training with the first team, and he's getting some minutes as well on occasion, whether it be Europa League or Premier League, especially when there were injuries, he was getting a lot more minutes. But unfortunately, he had this whatever virus or whatever was, it kept him out for a month or so.
I guess that is the thing that hampered him.
Yeah,
because I think he was starting to get more regular minutes.
He would have got a lot more minutes if that didn't happen.
That's true.
So I think I'll keep him. I think he's doing just fine.
Do you not think, though, like from now until the end of the season, he should be getting minutes in the Premier League when, you know, the games don't mean much, but it could be so much for his development?
I'd like to see him get some minutes, especially in the in the Prem. When I agree. I'd like to see, but obviously we got Johnson there, Odebear, Son, so we'll have to wait and see. You know, if he gets minutes ahead of those guys, and Tel as well. That obviously need minutes. So it's obviously up to Ange, but. Even if he doesn't, I've got no worries about him. Like, I still think he's got a massive future, and I'd still definitely keep him around.
All right, Mikey Moore is a keep. Richarlison kind of alluded to it before, but yeah, I think he's had copious amounts of chances at this football club. I think when he is fit, he's fairly good, but we just can't keep him fit. Every time he comes back, it's 2 games and he's injured again. And I think the time has come for him to leave this football club.
I agree. He's a good player there, I think. And he's a player when he's like on top of his game and you've got him on your side and he's battling and he gets the crowd up. He's like a player that you love and you love to have in your team. But unfortunately, ever since he's come here, he's just been plagued with injuries for one reason or another, which is it's just sad because before he came, he wasn't really an injury-prone player. But now, it's for the last 3 years, he had 2.5 anyway, he has been. So I think you just can't keep going with that when it's been that long. So unfortunately, it is a sell, even if it's 20 million, whatever it is. I think you just need to move on from it and get a player you can rely on a bit more.
Alfie Devine, this is another interesting one because I was so impressed with him in pre-season. I thought he was one of the better players. Looked very creative. Looked like he's growing into his body as well, turning into a man. He's gone over to Westerlo, had consistent minutes there. Obviously, he's suffering with injury right now, but I think he's been fairly good for Westerlo pretty much all season. I would have liked to see him get a bit more numbers, to be honest, in terms of goals and assists. But yeah, I'd probably think another loan spell. I'd like to see him get a Premier League loan, maybe to one of the teams coming up or something. I think Championship, I wouldn't like to see him go. I think I'd like to see him go to a Premier League loan.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to take a look at him in pre-season again, just to see what kind of level he's at compared to other midfielders. But I think at the end of the day, probably another loan deal is in order. Loan. Yeah, one more loan. And I think done really well Westerlo, really happy for him. But yeah, maybe a lower Premier League loan.
Yeah, Alejo Veliz up next, and I was pretty much one of the ones that really believed in Alejo Veliz. I think when I saw him on the pitch last season, I was impressed with what he was bringing. Really good attitude on the pitch, aggressive, tries so hard, had a tiny bit of quality about him as well. Got that goal against Brighton. But every time he's gone on loan, it's just been a horror story for him, really. This season, another horror story on loan. Last year at Seville, a horror story. Just doesn't get minutes, doesn't get goals. And I think that it's just a poor signing all round, you've got to say. So I think a sell.
I agree. I think a sell at this point. He's just not shown anything in any of his loans to suggest that he's ever going to make it here. So, yeah, it's a sell. It's unfortunate because he had a bit of a hype when he came and he was a young player who's scoring fairly regularly out in South America. And you're thinking, okay, maybe this guy, especially his physical profile, you think he could do it in the Prem. But it's just not been, especially the fact that we've got Lancashire, you've got Scarlett, you'd much rather give them the opportunity than him, unfortunately, right now. So, yeah, I think it's a sell.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he goes to Sevilla, which he was treated like a pawn between the manager and the hierarchy there. Doesn't get any minutes. And you're thinking, all right, fine. He's dropping down a level and going to Espanyol. And even at Espanyol, he started off, they gave him the number 9 shirt. Started off starting every week and he's just done nothing all season, which is very frustrating. So, yeah, I think a sell. Brian Hill up next. He's been fairly good at Girona this year, to be fair. And I think he's found. Look, we all know the Spanish league. He can do really well in. I don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. Unfortunate for him, he's out for the next 4 or 5 months with an injury, so he is going to be coming back, and he is going to be staying till at least January, in my opinion, on the sidelines, obviously. But when he comes back, it's got to be a sell.
Yeah, I don't think any Spurs managers ever trusted him, unfortunately, to play in this league. So, yeah, it's a sell.
Yang Min Hyuk, on loan at QPR at the moment. A bit up and down from him at QPR. I think he's shown definitely some excitement to his game. Definitely shown that he can definitely grow as a player, in my opinion. But I think he's still lacking that kind of physical edge to make it in the Premier League, I think, in the near future. So I'd like to see him get another loan in maybe the Championship.
Yeah, I don't think he's shown enough so far since he's been at QPR to suggest he's ready for the Prem. So I think a loan, albeit that could obviously change the last 9 games, maybe he'll start smashing it and then we'll have to revisit it. But right now, I think another loan is in order for him.
Manor Solomon, obviously smashing it for Leeds this season since returning from his injury. Pretty much stayed injury-free since coming back all season as well, which we know he's been struggling with injuries. We know that there's going to be suitors for him in the summer on the back of this form. A part of me does want to keep him around just to see what he's about next season, but then another part of me says, look, we've got so many left wingers. Maybe it's best just to cash in on him and use that money elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't think another loan makes sense because of his age and all that kind of stuff. I don't see the point in loaning him out again. So it's either you keep him around or you sell him. And do we feel like he's done enough out on loan to think he can do a job? To be fair, I do think he has, but I think he's more done enough to get a good price more than anything, to be honest, because I just don't think we're going to be keeping him around next season. As a player, yes, he stayed injury-free this season, but he has had injury problems in the past. There are also suggestions, is he ever going to be a top winger in Premier League level? I think he's done fantastic in the Championship. I'm not discounting that, and I think he can be a good Prem winger, but when we look at the wingers that we got, is he ever going to be, has he got a higher ceiling than those guys? I'm not necessarily sure. I don't think so. I think it's also a good opportunity to get a bit of cash in the summer, maybe between 15 and 20 million because of his stock is quite high at the moment. So I think I would look to sell.
Ashley Phillips up next. Ashley Phillips seemed to thrive whenever he goes on loan, to be honest, and this year is no different. He's been, a mainstay in that Stoke back line. He's been really good for them. They love him up there in Stoke, and yeah, I like him every time I see him play. I was impressed with him in pre-season. He's got a big frame about him, very physical. There's been question marks about what he's like on the ball. I don't know what to do with it. Is it a case of trying to get a Premier League loan for him next season? What do we do with Ashley Phillips?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think depending on if we're in European football next season, maybe I'd keep him. But I think if we're not, for sure it's a loan. Even if we are, probably is a loan anyway. I think I'd like to get him a Premier League loan and just to see how he does at that kind of level. Because we also we'll get into him later, we've got Vuskovic there, we've still got Danso, depends on Romero, Van der Ven as well. He's done well at Stoke, and he's, especially the change of manager, he's, got his place back in the team and he's starting really consistently now. Has he been that outstanding to suggest he's ready for the Prem? I'm not sure about that, but he has been good. And for a 19-year-old in the Championship, that's really, really great to see. It's hard for centre-backs at that age at any level. So I'll probably loan him out again if we can get another Prem loan.
Yeah, I'd agree.
A Prem loan, so I should say.
Either a Prem loan or a team that's going to get promoted to the Premier League, basically. Upper end of the Championship. And next, we're going to look at George Abbott, currently on loan at Notts County, doing very well this season, really well. And on the back of a really successful season for the under-21s, yeah, it's got to be kind of another loan spell higher up the leagues.
Yeah, I think hopefully a Championship one. I've seen a lot of Notts County fans say he's been one of the best midfielders in League Two this season, and some of the goals he scored very, very impressive in the FA Cup as well. So delighted for him because he was much talked about at under-21 level as the captain of our youth team, and he's gone on and done really great things. So I don't know if he's going to be part of the first team, but another loan spell at a high level to see what he can do, I think.
Definitely. Next up is Jamie Donnelly. I think everyone's been so excited after seeing what Jamie Donnelly's done for Leyton Orient, particularly in the second half of the season. He just I think after December, a flick just switched in him and he just started performing at such a high level. Again, that game against Man City as well, scoring from pretty much the halfway line. He's had such a fantastic season in League One, but I think probably go to the Championship next season.
Yeah, because it's
Loan.
League One, loan deal. I agree. Go and take him to the Championship, maybe even a lower Premier League team potentially, because he's shown he can do it against Premier League opposition. But he's only had a few months of good form. He was obviously touted as one of our best players under 21 level, and so much excitement about him. I'm delighted he's starting to fulfil that potential, but I think another loan deal.
Yeah, if we are in Europa League next season, well, Europa League's probably a no. I mean, it's only Champions League or nothing really for us next season, so it's probably a moot point. But if those kind of situations go and like we finish, let's say 11th, and we get the Conference League, then I would actually keep him around for the first half of the season.
Yeah, I think I would too, and see what he can do. But I think a loan deal is probably best.
Yeah. Alfie Dorrington up next, currently on loan at Aberdeen, seen about 6 games from start. And on the back of a horror injury that he had last season, I think the loan to Aberdeen was all about getting his fitness back and getting him playing consistently again at a higher level. So I think getting back in England and getting a loan spell in the Championship or League One, wherever it may be.
Yeah, I agree. Another loan spell. I've seen some Aberdeen fans being fairly impressed with him, but I think he's had a fairly mixed results as well in terms of his performance. So, yeah, I think I agree. It's about rebuilding his confidence. So another loan.
And another player who's smashing it out in Leyton Orient is Josh Keeley. And again, I think he's going to need a loan at a higher caliber in the Championship. He's impressed all the Leyton Orient fans this season, save after save. He's made records in terms of the amount of clean sheets he's made in a row for Leyton Orient. So stunning season from him, another loan.
Yeah, I think another loan, but I think Kinski and Austin got to be on watch because this guy seems to be coming up with a lot of potential and had some stellar performances for Leyton Orient. Even against Man City, he was brilliant. And recently, I saw he had a match-winning performance in a 1-0 win for Orient where he made 4 brilliant saves. So he's having an unbelievable time there. I think people have been even more impressed with him than they have been with Donnelly. So I think fantastic loan spell for him. But yeah, I think because we've got Kinski and Austin there, I think another loan deal.
Yeah, this is why I was saying at the time I didn't really understand the Kinski signing, because I know we needed a keeper to play a couple of games when we had Vicario out, and we had Brandon there, we had Fraser there, and Kinski's the same age as Josh Keeley, and Josh Keeley was already doing so well at Leyton Orient, so I didn't really understand the signing of Kinski.
Well, yeah, we needed someone short term. I guess we could have played Austin potentially in hindsight, but I think Kinski's obviously proven at European level, so I think that was obviously the thinking. But I think, Kinski, if he doesn't up his performances, I think Keeley might get his opportunity.
We didn't see Vuskovic. I'm just going to say keep Vuskovic.
Yeah, I want to see him this season. I think this guy is an absolute star. I want to see him as kind of like 4th choice centre back though, just so we're not too much pressure on him at 18. But I want to see him bedded in, getting starts, and I want to see him showing that potential that he showed in Belgium in their top division. He's been there, and he's already dominating centre forwards a lot more senior than him, and his aerial ability is unbelievable. And this guy is super exciting. I know I've just said with Ashley Phillips, like he's only done the Championship, and maybe you would say it's a Championship similar level to Belgium, but I think Vuskovic has just been like the best defender in that league, or one of, so supposedly anyway this season. So I think I really want to keep him around and see what he's about.
All right, so that is it. That is your keep, loan or sell. Let us know in the comment section below. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree? Let us know who you would keep, loan or sell in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.